So Angela Rayner resigned, but do you know who needs to go next? Jess Phillips, in my view. Why? I'll show you why in just a few minutes. I've got a clip to play for you that's going to absolutely blow your mind, something that she knew about all along and ostensibly did very little about it, because she fought against an inquiry to uncover what was really going on. Read between the lines. So we are back here on Off the Record. Welcome back. Thank you all so much for subscribing so far. And for those of you that may not have been aware, I've agreed to volunteer my time pro bono to restore Britain to a lot of its policies and give them advice as and when they need it. I think they have a lot of very valid policies they need to push through, and sometimes they will need advice and guidance. I'm very happy to provide that there. It's one of the privileges of a barrister to be able to offer that advice pro bono to a very good cause when it's necessary. So I'm privileged to be able to do that. And thank you also to all of you for supporting me on these channels here by subscribing, by watching, by sharing. You help me to have more time to be able to provide my pro bono time to the likes of Restore Britain, which in turn will help you. So to that end, please do subscribe to the channel. That will help me, and it will help me to help them. Thank you so much. What a week it's been. What a few weeks it's been with what's going on in this government, and what a week it's been for me. This week has shown me on so many levels how Britain is so badly broken. So much so we can't even get the trains to work properly. A little bit of a story first. I've been to London, or tried to go to London, 4 or 5 times in the last few weeks, and on every single occasion, the trains have either been cancelled or severely delayed, or both on the same day as it happens. On one occasion, the day before yesterday, it was blamed on the weather to say that there was so much rain that there was a risk of landslip and this sort of stuff. And I just think, have they not planned for this yet? I mean, this is England. We get rain every year. We get snow every year. We get dry and hot spells every year. This is nothing new. Now, when they say, this was unexpected or whatever, it really wasn't. We expect this every year. Now, it was only a few weeks ago they were saying, this is really dangerous because it's really dry. It's been so hot and dry. And I've just realized, speaking of hot and dry, the sun's coming through the window. I'm not going to shut it out because I like the sun. But nonetheless, I got up the other morning to go to London. My train was cancelled, so I had half an hour to get ready to get out and get the next one. And then coming back, the first train was cancelled. The second train, the one before that was cancelled. The train that I got on was delayed by 40 minutes. And when I got on it, I was halfway back and they kicked us off halfway, saying you've got to get the next train on the way back. So Britain is broken. Honestly, it took me nearly 6 hours to get back from London, a journey that shouldn't take much more than an hour. How can we continue like this? So just a bit of a recap. We have an anti-corruption minister who had to resign because she was accused of corruption. We had an anti-homelessness minister who resigned because making people homeless. We had the transport secretary resigned because she failed to correct the police records about a report of a stolen phone. And now we have Angela Rayner, housing minister and deputy prime minister, failed to pay the appropriate amount of tax. Now, not only did she not pay the right amount of tax, but she tried to throw the lawyers under the bus, something I take personal offence to, because she said that she relied on the legal advice to pay that amount of stamp duty. Now, as it transpires, the law firm involved said, we don't advise on tax and we don't advise on all of this sort of stuff. We just did the calculation based on what she told us, which is perfectly fine because they are correcting the public record, because it could well be defamatory in that what she said makes the firm look bad, makes them look incompetent. I don't think they were incompetent. I just think they did what any firm would do. They made the calculation based on information given to them. They gave her a warning that this was not tax advice. And Angela Rayner did not proceed and take any tax advice after that. And that is why it's now been upheld that on an independent review, she did not meet the highest possible standards because she didn't take tax advice. And as housing minister, deputy PM, one would assume, one would expect that she would take the appropriate advice. She didn't, and then she got it wrong. And so now she's resigned. And after saying so many other people should resign, it's absolutely the right thing that she should. But now moving on with Jess Phillips and why I think she should be next. I'll probably cover this more on the main channel in due course. But for now, take a look at this clip. and then we'll discuss what we think.
Horrendous reports about the rapes and assaults that are taking place by South Yorkshire Police. I welcome the decision to involve the NCA and strip away responsibility for those investigations from the force. But would she confirm that the National Inquiry will look at the role of the police, not only in cover-ups, but in the crimes themselves?
Absolutely, yeah. The South Yorkshire Police should never have been left to investigate themselves in this matter, and so yes, moving over to the NCA is the absolutely right thing to do. But I would be lying if I said that over the years I have not met girls who talk to me about how police were part of the perpetration, not just the cover-up. I would be lying if I said that over the years I have not met girls who talk to me about how police were part of the perpetration, not just the cover-up.
So how about that? She said she would be lying if she said she didn't know that the police, in some cases, were the perpetrators in some of those horrific crimes. And yet, she, in writing, refused a national inquiry into what was going on, and along with many other Labour ministers, initially refused an inquiry until an independent report said that they absolutely need an independent inquiry to see exactly what happened systematically across the country. So I think it's really difficult for anyone to stay in office after making such an admission that she knew about such things, and yet obviously they continued, and she fought against a national inquiry to root out the evil that was doing exactly this. But we also have now the Epping situation, because Epping Forest Council are now going to go to the Supreme Court, rightly so in my view, because they want to uphold the principle that absolutely they should appeal the Court of Appeal decision, because Court of Appeal said, no, you can't appeal to the Supreme Court on the decision to set aside the injunction. But now it seems that they were right to seek that injunction. Epping Council was right to seek that injunction because the guy who was at the heart of all these protests and complaints has now been convicted of multiple counts of assault. So the people of Epping were right. Epping Council were right in that they wanted to prevent the ongoing use of this hotel because it was a breach of planning law in that it's materially changed the use of that building. And one of my viewers wrote in, I think yesterday or the day before, with a very important and reasonably obvious point, but so obvious not everybody thinks of it, but said when you go to a hotel, for UK citizens, you don't need to provide proof of your ID and that sort of thing. But for foreign nationals, they do. They usually need to provide a passport and even a visa and things like that. So that is another argument, if it hasn't been used already, as to the change of material use of the building as a hotel, because presumably they don't have all of those documents and ID. I mean, many of them come here without any documents at all, as we know from the news reports. So it is absolutely a material change of use of the building. It is absolutely no longer using it as a hotel. It is absolutely a change for the amenity of the local area. With even Keir Starmer now can't refute that. He said he understands people don't want these hotels in their area. He said that he wouldn't want this hotel in his area. He understands why everyone wants to shut it down, and they've all admitted that they want to get these hotels shut down. But then the question then begs, well, what about the next step? Because Epping is going to the Supreme Court to appeal against the decision to set aside the injunction to shut this hotel down in the interim. They've got the substantive hearing coming up in October. But even more than that, what about the dispersal housing? Because with everybody moving into dispersal housing around the country, not just all condensed into one hotel, but dotted around on streets near you and you don't know where they are, etc., that is also a cause for concern. And is that not material change of use of those buildings there? It'll be a subtly different argument, of course, because they're not all housed in the same place. But surely the underlying principle, which is very well settled in law, is that local authorities do and should have the overall say on the permission for use of those buildings. By whom? and under what contract and what conditions and so on. Just like a house of multiple occupancy, you need a license for it. For those of you that are not familiar with that, if you house multiple families in the same property, different rules apply as to if you've just got one standard family of tenants living in there. And I know I'm quite washed out in the brightness here because of the window there, so forgive me, but all of these things indicate that this system is all chaotic at the moment, and I think it's all chaotic for this government. And I don't know how we're going to last for the duration of this parliament. I've had a number of conversations with a number of very intelligent people, and the feeling is somewhat unanimous in that most of us cannot understand how this government can continue for the remainder of this parliament. Let me know your thoughts in comments below. I just had to get my thoughts out here in this video here. Let's get this channel to 100,000 subscribers. Get another plaque up on the wall here of people willing and prepared to tell the truth and talk about the truth. And now it's going dark. This is such as British weather. So thank you so much for subscribing and supporting me here. I really do appreciate it. I also appreciate all your comments about my support to restore Britain. Thank you all so much for the kind support, and I'll see you next time.